Hello everyone. This presentation is in partial fulfillment of the course Advanced Quantitative Methodologies and Design. In this presentation, I will be discussing my potential quantitative design for my research. To begin, I will discuss the correlational research design, which is a non-experimental research design that measures the strength of the relationship between two variables. It may also measure two or more variables. In the event a relationship exists between the two variables, the correlation research design helps to explain such relationships. This quantitative research design eliminates the use of manipulation but seeks to identify any patterns that are present in the data. The primary reason a researcher would use a correlational research design for a study is to find what relationship exists between variables and explain how they connect. Correlational research design is an excellent research tool for examining the cause and effect associations among and between variables and identifying and observing how data patterns tell a story. One particular advantage of the correlational research design is that none of these variables are manipulated. Without the researcher's interference, all variables have the opportunity to act naturally in their environment. Another advantage of the correlational research design is that data for the research comes from two separate methods of collecting such data, which are the naturalistic observation and archival data. A challenge that researchers face with correlational research design is that it only identifies relationships. It does not give a definite reason why relationships and correlations happen in a data set. So the research question that would be associated with the correlational design is: what is the relationship between assessments and their effectiveness with teaching elementary students on the autism spectrum? The next research design to consider for this research is the quasi-experimental research design. This design examines numerical data and statistical analysis processes. This quantitative research design studies groups of variables with different levels of manipulation to identify the cause and effect nature of their relationship. This design uses data to draw statistical assumptions. In examining variables and their relationships, quasi-experimental design seeks to uncover causality relating to an intervention and how this affects the relationships, which, which is comparable to randomized testing. Quasi-experimental studies encompasses a broad range of non-randomized intervention studies. These designs are frequently used when it is not logically feasible or ethical to conduct a randomized control study. And that's a quote from Harris et al. 2016. 2006. One of the most significant disadvantages of the quasi-experimental research design is that randomization is not an option, which limits the ability of the research to conclude the existence of an association between the intervention that was used, the manipulated variable, and the final results, One particular advantage of the quasi-experimental research design, it has the potential to produce a higher external validity. This is because it is more applicable in real life situations. And the research question that would be appropriate for the quasi-experimental research design would be: how effective are standardized tests in demonstrating students' level of knowledge after being taught using the Montessori teaching method? Next, we will look at the experimental design. In experimental research, the researcher can conduct the research in an unbiased and controlled way, which enhances the accuracy of the conclusions that are drawn from the hypothesis. With the experimental research design, the scientific approach is used, which studies two different types of variables. Experimental methodology establishes a functional relation between independent and dependent variables through within subject comparisons. And that's a quote from Berkeley et al. 2022. One set of variables act as a constant while the other set is used to determine the changes in the second set of variables. Experimental research is most suitable in studies that are seeking to identify cause and effect, such as using time to identify correlations concerning cause and effect, consistent actions concerning cause and effect, and the developing of a solid understanding of position of cause and effect. Internal validity is of great concern in research, and with the experimental design it comes in abundance, but at the price of lessening the external validity. Therefore, in an experiment, the independent variables or the variables that are explanatory are the ones that manipulate the dependent variables. Also, using the experimental design can be expensive and takes up extended periods of time. A research question that would be effective for the experimental design would be: what effect does teacher use of assessment techniques during instruction have on students' level of understanding? Discussion of the problem. So the research question that I am thinking of is: what is the relationship between assessments and their effectiveness in teaching elementary students on the autism spectrum? The null hypothesis is elementary students on the autism spectrum will not show significant progress after assessment strategies are used during instruction. The alternative hypothesis is elementary students on the autism spectrum will show a significant understanding of different topics after teachers use assessment tools and teaching strategies during instruction. The research will examine the use of informal assessments during instruction with students on the autism spectrum and will also investigate how formal assessment scores change after students take part in lessons that use assessment techniques. The research intends to understand how informal assessment affects students' understanding during teaching and how students transfer that knowledge and understanding when taking formal assessments. Now we will look at the design that is being considered for the research. This research will utilize the correlational research design to establish what relationship exists between assessments and teaching strategies and how they enhance the understanding of elementary students on the autism spectrum. A correlational design in which the researcher is interested in the extent to which two variables convey, and this is a quote from Al-Janmi and Nazi 2022. The main aim of the research is to investigate the relationship between assessment, teaching strategies, and how students respond to them during instruction. Because the researcher will not control or manipulate any of the variables, the correlational design is most suitable for this research.